Hello, this is a review of the Duke controller by Microsoft. This was the original controller for the Xbox that came out in 2001, and it is infamous for being very, very big and strange. Now, the reason this controller is the way it is because Microsoft was, they were inexperienced in making video game controllers, and it's reported that they made the board that went inside the controller before they made the shell. So they were kind of forced to make it this gigantic beast of a thing. It's very large. It's a fully featured controller for the standards of 2001. It has rumble. It has two memory card slots. The more I deal with this thing, the more I realize that it's very similar to the Sega Dreamcast controller. Same button layout with A, X, Y, B like that. Two slots here. Same shoulder button style with analog triggers, which was pretty cool for the time. And yeah, just a similar form factor. Maybe I should have gone the other one, the Dreamcast controller, but I did not prepare that. It has a giant Xbox logo in the center, which is just so strange because this kind of like jewel thing is the sort of thing that they do in a console, especially around that time, was popular. The GameCube did it. The original Xbox did it. This little fun crystal thing looks kind of premium, very different material, has an image on the inside, lots of fun. But it's in the controller. I guess if this is a Dreamcast controller, that's where the VMU would go. And I've always wanted one of these things because I've always found it just to be fascinating. It's just this extremely infamous, weird controller that it's way more refined than you think, like feel-wise, than you would for like a a manufacturer's first console controller. But it still does show a lot of signs of growing pains, and it's just miraculous. Like, I don't know, there's some stuff about this that's just really hard to explain or understand. Like, this D-pad, like I understand that Nintendo had a patent on D-pads over at the time, leading to a lot of kooky designs, but this is just hilarious. It's like a giant circle. It's like, how do you even like direct players to like press different parts of it besides like, I guess, highlighting it? Like, I don't know, it just seems so silly. And the way these analog sticks are a little bit different, which is interesting. It's kind of I guess that's the thing other manufacturers tried to do, because it's like Sony had the same analog stick, Nintendo had the C stick that was a little bit smaller, and I guess Xbox was considering having just a different one like this with a reticle, maybe because it's like, mostly for aiming and for Halo. You can click the sticks too, has a decent sound and stuff. These buttons are also very weird for a few reasons. One is that they're slanted, which is pretty irregular. And they have this really interesting kind of three-dimensional effect to them, if you can see that. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't think it looks like sleek. It kind of clashes with everything else in the controller in a way. Shape-wise, I think that works. That's slanted, it adds some, I guess, a little attitude to the thing. But it's very colorful, it kind of reminds me of like that infamous Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Special Edition with the Easter eggs. They're on the controller here. And black and white buttons, which, yeah, that's something no one's really done before. Buttons based on like colors, like that's seems very, kind of unique to Xbox, especially only having two colors. And these would eventually be transferred to second triggers, because this only has two triggers, which, was, I guess, standard for the time when this was made. I mean, I guess the PlayStation 2 had four triggers, but the black and white buttons kind of make up for that, I suppose. And yeah, I have little baby hands, very small hands. Reaching the start button, yeah, I can't do that unless I like take my hand off the handle, because these, for what it is, these handles are huge, but they feel pretty natural when you're holding it like this. It takes a lot of force though, because you have to stretch your hand way more than you would a normal controller. So I found my hand get fatigued playing Crazy Taxi 3 on this thing way faster than I would like, on a 360 controller or a Switch controller. There's this interesting divot here. Look at that. I'm like, huh, interesting. I guess the analog stick doesn't rub up against anything, which is kind of consider a thing to do. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've never actually put a memory card in here, but there's 2 slots, even though the console is a external internal hard drive, which is interesting. Yeah, I guess more about the buttons. It feels like Batman to me. Like, I don't know, there's a very cool shape. I do love it. I've not tried the revised controller because, you know, if we're doing the original Xbox, you have to have the Duke, right? So this is the one. I mean, I actually received this as a birthday gift from my girlfriend because they knew I was hot for the Duke, so they delivered. Microsoft. On the back here, oh gosh, okay, I'll get to that. Made in Malaysia, pretty cool. Apparently, the plastic on these things has become brittle over time, so if you try to open it, there's a chance the screw hole will just dissipate. And if you drop it on like a hardwood floor, it might crack, which is unfortunate. I've seen a lot of broken ones of these. And another manufacturing flaw is this wire. Yeah, it bends. It's not the best. I mean, it's a really cool material. It's like this translucent green, very unique. You know, it's like the Xbox Energy. It's kind of cool, but it seems to have not stood the test of time there with this cable always being flexed like this. If you flex it the other way, it's going to not be happy about that. This cable has other weird eccentricities as well. Yeah, this is a controller port for a PC or a keyboard, I believe. I've never actually used this input, but I just know, you know, I've seen the keyboards that use this around. Apparently this doesn't actually work as a PC controller, which is just kind of baffling. Like, what's the point of this being the end then? It just seems strange, especially when you force it to be connected to this thing, this connector, this, I forget what they call it, but to actually make it usable on the Xbox, because the Xbox doesn't actually take this port, it takes this port. Yeah, just baffling decision. And this is a kind of interesting looking. I like how it's like sparkly. It reminds me of like the sparkles around the Xbox discs, if you guys know what I mean. I guess I can pull one so you can see. Yeah, this kind of glittery Xbox sheen there reminds me of that. Yeah, so a breakaway cable, that's what it's called. I just don't understand. It makes no sense. Like, I don't know. It's so weird. It's like they can't make like a normal wired controller. One thing, I mean, the Xbox has 4 controller ports, which is pretty awesome. Like, that was not a guaranteed thing. You know, like, you can think of controller, you know, consoles with 4 controller ports. There's like, I think the Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, GameCube, the Wii, and like, that's about it, if I'm thinking correctly. Like, PS2 has 2, 360 and later have wireless controllers. This is the DVD dongle you had to put to make the DVD remote work because Microsoft didn't want to pay licensing fees. I have this, but I don't have the remote, so whatever. Yeah, 4 controller ports. I'm like, what other consoles? Does the Sega Saturn have 4? I don't know. I feel like the Sega Saturn still has a multi-tap, but I'm not sure. Genesis definitely has 2. Super Nintendo has 2. NES has 2. You need the 4 score. Man, TurboGrafx definitely has 2, even though I do know there's a Turbo Tap that lets you have 4. Or maybe even need a Turbo Tap to have 2. I'm not actually sure. Yeah. So, yeah, weird Xbox has 4. That's kind of cool, though. You can play Halo with the 4 boys. Another similarity between this thing and the Dreamcast. But I guess that's all there is. You can stop looking at this unfocused image of my carpet and my tangled mess of wires. I love the Duke. I think it's really interesting. Super unique. Really makes those parallels between Microsoft and Sega more clear, which I think is one of the strengths of the Xbox, is it has a lot of that unfiltered creativity of the Dreamcast. And the controller's another example of that. While it has similar problems where it kind of hurts my hand to use it for too much, especially those L and R buttons, I would never, you know, in the world hope that the S controller was the first one they made, because I'm so glad we have this. It's almost as if that banana PS3 controller was the first one, and we actually got to experience that, because even if it's objectively worse in every single way, it's just different, and that's interesting and that's cool. And there might be things that it does do better objectively or subjectively, even if it isn't better, even if it isn't like some hitting some standard benchmark of every controller after that, even if it does age poorly in some ways. This is a unique object in history. This is a unique controller that, they're not going to make something like this ever again. Controllers, they basically figured out the 360, how you make a game controller, how you make one that's universal across every, game that uses controllers. So it's like, this is that one of those last weird experimental pushes to make something a little bit different. And even if it wasn't done because of like, some creative drive, it was done on accident, that still doesn't invalidate this thing's existence and its eccentricities. And I can't say that word, but I say it all the time. Yeah, I love the Duke. And I love the original Xbox. I'm not a hater. I love the original Xbox. It's a great console. Thanks for watching.